What was the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850? The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was a law that made it a crime to help runaway slaves and allowed for the arrest of escaped slaves in areas where slavery was illegal. It also required the slaves returned to the slaveholders. How did the abolitionists react? The abolitionists were incredibly irritated with the Fugitive Slave Act and were most verbal in their resistance to the act. Examples of the abolitionists' resistance. Many of the abolitionists tried to rebel against the act by mobbing federal officials while trying to rescue fugitives. For example, a fugitive slave from Virginia, Anthony Burns, was arrested and jailed in Boston when a group of abolitionists burst into the courthouse during his case in an attempt to rescue the fugitive by force. However, the mission was unsuccessful and Burns returned to Virginia as a slave. In addition, the effort to return Anthony Burns to slavery cost the government over $100,000. Anti-slavery associations. Many abolitionists became part of voluntary anti-slavery associations during the act that worked towards protecting black fugitives from illegal kidnapping. One of the most influential and famous associations was the Boston Vigilance Committee. This committee provided many services such as providing clothing, fuel, furniture donations, giving out small loans, medical aid, warned the public arrival of slave catchers, writing and giving out petitions, and legal defense for the fugitives. Influential abolitionists who defied the act. There were many abolitionists who had quite a large influence and opinion on the act. One of them was Reverend Theodore Parker from Boston. He once said,
"To a law framed of such iniquity, I owe no allegiance."
Another famous abolitionist was Harriet Jacobs, a fugitive from New York. She said that the act was
the beginning of a reign of terror to the colored population.
How the slaves reacted. When the Fugitive Slave Act was announced, many of the fugitive slaves left their homes and escaped to Canada. During the next 10 years, about 20,000 blacks moved to Canada. In addition, many of the fugitives used the Underground Railroad, and it became most active between 1850 through 1860, around when the act was enforced. Positive reactions to the act. Although the abolitionists were out rioting and defying the act, many of the slaveholders and Southerners were pleased with the act. This is because they earned quite a sum of money for catching slaves and turning them in, and because they either got their slaves returned to them or they were jailed. This made them feel like the fugitives got what they deserved. All in all, there were various opinions on the act, either bad or good. The abolitionists and slaves tried to resist, while the slaveholders and Southerners obeyed the act with pleasure. The Fugitive Slave Act can be compared to today, where if you help an escaped prisoner run away, it is considered a federal crime in many countries. Although this is not as severe as back then, it has many similarities.